Hey, what's up, everyone? It's been a couple days since I made a video. Um, been super busy, of course, preparing for tomorrow and for Wednesday, and it's been pretty stressful. And I'm just trying to get into the right mindset. And but yeah, I want to say thank you to every single person who has said kind words and has donated to my GoFundMe, and I really appreciate that. The worst thing in the world, the worst feeling is wanting to fight for your child, but not having the money to do it. Because I'm just a regular guy. I'm not rich, so I really appreciate all the help that you've given me, and it's allowed me the ability and the advantage to fight. So I appreciate you helping me stay in this fight. I wouldn't be where I am without your support. And so, yeah, I just want to thank you guys and give you your flowers. But yeah, let's jump into the video. So there's this question that keeps coming up that I wanted to address, and it's why do men stop believing in love? And when I say that, I'm not talking about just bitter dudes online that are just complaining. I'm talking about regular men who once believed in loyalty, and they believed in partnership and devotion, all of these things, and then at some point, they just stopped believing it. And I would say the reason isn't because they hate women. It's just because they've seen too much. They've lived the reality, and what love looks like today it's completely antithetical to what they were told to believe in. It turned into something very transactional and conditional and void and detached from loyalty. And I mean, the truth is, it's always been conditional, yes, to some degree. The difference is in this modern world, it's been twisted and contorted into something almost unrecognizable. I mean, if you look at history without without a romantic gloss, love has always come with conditions. Yes, in early tribes, love was about survival. A man brought food and safety and protection to the tribe and to the woman he was with, and then in return, he got loyalty and children. And then later, once agriculture was introduced, later in farming and in villages, marriage was more than affection. It was about, family ties and land and inheritance, right? So men have always known that love was not free, of course. It was tied to what you could provide. But there was one thing that made it work, which was loyalty, reciprocity. As long as you kept your end of the bargain, loyalty held steady. Now, it wasn't perfect, but it was clear. Now, the same conditionality is still there, but it's not about survival anymore, not with modernity. It's about preference, and it's about lifestyle and moods. A man can work, work to the bone, provide, stay loyal, love deeply, and still be left. And not because he failed, but because she felt unfulfilled. That's not the old bargain anymore. That's a distortion of it. The conditions are constantly shifting and never defined, and backed by a culture that rewards walking away instead of staying through it. And I would say that men who see this don't necessarily get angry, they just go numb from it, because what they were willing to sacrifice for isn't even on the table anymore. Men don't stop believing in love because of just one bad breakup. They don't. They stop believing after years and years of watching the same story repeat itself. It's pattern recognition. They see marriages fall apart after decades, and they see friends that are absolutely broken and shattered by conditional affection. They see fathers erased from their kids' lives after giving everything. And then they piece it together. If loyalty can be pulled away at any moment, then what we call love isn't really love anymore. It's a temporary deal that lasts until someone decides, they're done, right? That realization doesn't come from hatred. It comes from simply watching reality just play out. Men have always tied love to sacrifice. Always. You hunt, you built, you hunted, you built, you fought, you worked. Your worth wasn't measured in what you gave, or your worth was measured in what you gave. That hasn't changed. What's changed is what you get back in return. In the past, sacrifice secured loyalty. Today, sacrifice doesn't guarantee anything. Because you can give everything for years. Your energy, your loyalty, you can give all of that and it still be thrown aside. That's why I believe men are losing faith, because the ancient deal, sacrifice for loyalty, has been broken. And, in modern love, it feels like you're just working off of a checklist now, like be strong, but not controlling, be sensitive, but not weak, and then make money, but don't work too much. You can be exciting, but also stable. And, so no matter how many boxes that you check, new boxes keep popping up. And then eventually men realize, this checklist it's never ending. That's what kills belief in love. It's not because that men don't try or they won't. It's because they know no matter what they do, it'll never be enough to close the account. And I mean, I've gotten countless comments from men in this situation. That gave years loyalty and everything they had, only to be left when the conditions changed. And they were told that love was unconditional, but they lived the truth that it isn't. After you've lived through that a few times, you don't keep the same belief. And it's not because you don't want to love. You're just tired. That's what it is. It's because you're tired. You can only walk through the same fire so many times before you're like, dude, I'm sick of getting burned, right? Men are sick of getting burned. But here's another layer to talk about. So, I mean, men, and I've talked about this with a friend recently. So men didn't just stumble into these disappointments. I mean, we were set up for them. I mean, look at the TV shows and movies from the 80s and 90s and even into today. Sitcom after sitcom just showed the dad as a fool, right? He was the punchline. Got The Simpsons with Homer. You've got, Tim the Toolman Taylor, Home Improvement, bumbling idiots. They need their wife or else they just couldn't make it in this world, They were just, supposed to shut up and go along, right? Commercials also paint men as bumbling idiots that can, barely change a light bulb. And then, you have the wife rolling her eyes and whatnot. So, I mean, at the same time, romance movies like the rom-coms and stuff, they do the rom-coms, man. They fed us just the worst scripts, the most antithetical scripts, involving the guy chasing the woman. Just endless chasing, pedestalizing women. Just, prove your love no matter how much disrespect you take. Simping. It taught our generation, taught millennials and onward to simp for women. To chase, to disregard your self-respect, basically. So, I mean, that was social engineering. It trained men to play a losing game. It's what it trained them to do. It's what it trained me to do. It's what it trained a lot of my friends to do, a lot of people, a lot of you. And even our fathers modeled it too. They were the happy wife, happy life guy, right? Men who thought submission was love, But that example that we saw growing up set us up for failure because it taught us to ignore disrespect and to extinguish our own instincts, not listen to them, and to equate silence with virtue to a certain degree. I mean, which that's not strength at all. That's, I would say that's weakness just packaged as virtue. And, you know, what happens after that is really simple. A man who doesn't believe in love anymore doesn't necessarily stop loving. He still wants connection. He still wants that closeness. He wants it. We're hardwired to want that. We're humans. But he just doesn't dream about it like he used to. He doesn't expect forever. He doesn't fool himself with fairy tales anymore. If he commits, it's with his eyes wide open, knowing that it could end at any moment. Any moment. And I think a lot of people mistake that demeanor for bitterness, but they're just clear. There's clarity there. Because once you see how it works, you can't pretend anymore. You can't go back. That's not how belief works. And that's not how being exposed to reality works. Unless you want to be legitimately insane and do this, repeat the same behaviors expecting different results, fully knowing that you're not going to get them. But yeah, I mean, modern love doesn't usually explode in some big dramatic scene all the time. It dies slowly in a lot of cases, in just little pieces here and there. Just the trust gets chipped away. Promises just weaken. Sacrifices are forgotten. And then one day you wake up and realize the love you thought you had is just gone. But it wasn't because of some catastrophe, but it was because one person decided that their feelings outweighed the vow. That's honestly even worse than betrayal. I mean, betrayal at least admits something sacred was broken. Erosion is what's going on. Erosion just shows you it was never sacred to begin with. It's constantly being chipped away at over time to that inevitable climax and then pitfall. So, I mean, what do men do after they stop believing? I think some, they retreat into solitude. A lot of them retreat into solitude. Because why is that? Solitude doesn't betray you. Others will, they'll throw themselves into work or their kids or building things that last longer than a relationship. And others, they still love, but they do it differently. They give without expecting forever. They stay loyal, but it's a choice, not a blind hope. And I would say that shift matters because it means that a man can keep his dignity even if love doesn't last. And in closing, this is the reality men are waking up to. Love has always been conditional. But today, in our modern world of 2025, conditions are endless. And they're unstable, unpredictable, and hidden until they're used against you. And men stop believing in love not because they wanted to, but because they finally saw what it really is. That doesn't mean you stop living. It doesn't mean you stop giving either. It means you stop lying to yourself. And yeah, carrying that truth is heavy. But in return, it makes you stronger. Because once you see reality, you don't go back to dreaming. You don't. You move forward with clear eyes, and you live life on your terms. Plain and simple.